Good afternoon, and welcome to the Western Michigan University Homer Stryker, MD, School of Medicine, Class of 2028 White Coat Ceremony. I'm Dr. Maria Shakely, Associate Dean for Student Affairs, and I will serve as your host for today's ceremony. On behalf of WMed leadership, faculty, and staff, it is my honor to welcome the Western Michigan University Homer Stryker, MD, School of Medicine, Class of 2028. You can be seated. Again, it's my pleasure to welcome you all to the WMed White Coat Ceremony for the Class of 2028. Today's ceremony is held at Chenery Auditorium and is located on the lands of the Ojibwe, Ottawa, and Badwadme Nations. We acknowledge and honor this ancestral land of the Three Fires Confederacy, the sacred lands of all Indigenous people. On behalf of our Dean, Dr. Robert Sawyer, the Medical School Board of Directors, Senior Associate Deans, Assistant Deans, Department Chairs, Program Chiefs, faculty, and staff, it is my true honor to welcome you all and thank you for joining us today. Also, a very warm welcome to those following the ceremony via live stream today. Today's ceremony is all about the white coat. It's the most iconic symbol of the medical profession. Here to tell you more about the origin of the white coat is Dr. Michael Boucher, Senior Associate Dean for Academic Affairs.
Thank you, Dr. Shakely. Hello and welcome, everyone. Let us start at the beginning of the white coat. In the middle of the 19th century, the medical profession turned to science to provide breakthrough advances in curing disease. At that time, physicians adopted the scientific lab coat as their standard. Originally, lab coats were beige, but when adopted by the medical profession, white was chosen. The color white, representing purity, is a visual reminder of the physician's commitment to do no harm. No one is 100% sure where the first white coat came into the picture or who exactly designed it, but the white coat quickly became synonymous with portraying the doctor as a clean, safe source of authority and compassion in the new and improved medical field, and that image remains today. In 1993, the Arnold P. Gold Foundation and physicians at the Columbia University College of Physicians and Surgeons in New York initiated the first white coat ceremony. This ceremony has since been adopted by many medical schools in the United States and abroad. The ceremony was designed to welcome entering medical students and help them establish a psychological contract for the practice of medicine. The Arnold P. Gold Foundation works with healthcare professionals in training and in practice to instill the values of compassionate, collaborative, scientifically sound caregiving right at the start of training. A lapel pin with the foundation's logo, the Mobius Loop, has been placed on the white coats that the class of 2028 will be cloaked with today. This logo symbolizes the continuous bond of trust, respect, and clear communication between healthcare professionals and their patients, which occurs when humanism is at the core of medical practice. The white coat is one of medicine's most important symbols, signifies, in the words of Dr. Gold, a physician's responsibility is not only to take care of patients, but also to care for patients. Now, to offer up greetings from the WMed student body, I'd like to introduce Skylar Kettler, Student Council Representative from the class of 2027.
Thank you, Dr. Boucher. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Skylar Kettler, a second-year medical student here at WMed, and I'm so excited to join today's celebration. I first want to issue a warm welcome to the family and friends who have joined us today, either in person or virtually. Thank you for being here to celebrate your student and for the support, encouragement, and confidence you've undoubtedly had in them up until this point. I personally understand the importance of having a support system and a cheerleading squad because it's what got me here. And I'm sure that rings true for many of our new students. That unwavering support will continue to be critical during the next 4 years. So I implore you to keep it up. Even if you get tired of listening to your students swearing up and down that they're going to fail out of medical school the Thursday before each summative exam. Even though nothing that drastic ever happens, sorry, Mom and Dad. Now, to the class of 2028, I'm so excited to say, congratulations and welcome to the WMed family. 1 year ago, I was sitting where you are now, trying desperately not to let tears fall. It had hit me right about now that I had accomplished something monumental in my life that I'd been working for so long, through 4 years of college and 2 years of grad school. You are all one step closer to achieving your dream. In 4 years, you'll be back here celebrating your medical school graduation, after which you'll be practicing medicine, making impacts in so many people's lives. So, as you mentally prepare to walk across the stage in a few minutes to don your white coat for the first time, take a few minutes now to take it all in, prepare, and congratulate yourself. It is a huge accomplishment to persevere through the stress and challenges of pre-medical life and the med school application process. And while you're at it, you can also congratulate yourself on never having to tell someone that you're pre-med again. As you put your white coat on for the first time, you'll be ceremoniously stepping into an exciting and important new role, one that you've already gotten a taste for. You've made it through your first block of preclinicals, studying hundreds of learning objectives and thousands of lecture slides for your first summative exam. You've also rapid-fire learned first responder skills, such as CPR, airway management, tourniquet application, and perhaps most importantly, scene safety. I hope your successes in these courses have given you confidence that you belong here in medical school, and also confidence in your ability to succeed in your remaining preclinical blocks. When I was trying to come up with ways to explain what else you will encounter during your remaining preclinical years, I thought that Robin Williams, as psychologist Dr. Sean McGuire, in my family's favorite movie, Good Will Hunting, explains it pretty well when he says, "You'll have bad times, but it'll always wake you up to the good stuff you weren't paying attention to." Unfortunately, med school will sometimes be a bad time. On top of the mountain of information you're expected to understand and apply, you'll have to balance participating in student research groups, student interest groups, spending time with loved ones, and most importantly, supporting your mental health despite it all. And sometimes you'll stumble into unexpected bad times. Maybe you'll stress yourself out so badly during the neurology block that you give yourself a stomach ulcer. Not very fun, though you will have the firsthand knowledge to feel very smart when you later learn about ulcers and GI. But, like Robin Williams, as Dr. Sean McGuire said, you will find good in the chaos. You will likely find some of your best friends here at WMed. Isn't there something about going through trauma together that forms the closest bonds? But seriously, I have never full belly laughed so hard as I do with my friends when we're sleep deprived and studying for summatives. I hope you also find yourself counting your daily little wins, such as the first time you're able to differentiate between all the different shades of pink and purple during a histology lab, or when your specialized patient gives you feedback regarding how efficient yet thoughtful and kind you were during a clinical skills event. Appreciating these little wins will keep you motivated and give you the mental capacity needed to overcome the difficult times when they do appear. You will all go through this medical school experience together, so during hard times, seek out the good stuff you're not paying attention to, lean on each other, and utilize the plethora of resources provided by WMed, such as peer tutoring, free external counseling services, the open door policy many faculty members adopt for drop-in academic help, and basically the Student Affairs Office in its entirety. Additionally, if you haven't already noticed, your upperclassmen are all too excited to be a resource and source of friendship. All you have to do is ask. The last thing I wanted to say is that although you all will be taking the same classes and exams for the next few years, you will all have unique and diverse experiences. You each chose medicine for different personal reasons, and therefore have different educational and career goals. You will also have unique challenges, so you might feel occasionally lonely, as if no one else is struggling with the same thing you are. When this happens, I like to remind myself of my goals, and that these challenges are part of the collective growth and learning process that we are all traversing. The diversity of these personal experiences ensures that our generation of medical professionals will be prepared to successfully and empathetically serve an ever-evolving and diverse patient population. Congratulations again to all of you. We can't wait to see your successes during the next 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Skylar. Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Robert Sawyer, and it is my honor to serve as the medical school dean. This white coat ceremony is a special rite of passage for our students as they begin medical school. Today, we present you, members of the class of 2028, with your white coat. For your clinical experiences, you're expected to wear your white coat as part of your professional attire. It's part of the profession of medicine. Wearing a white coat is steeped in tradition, Dr. Boucher mentioned this, and symbolism. Accordingly, wearing a white coat is not only an expectation, but a privilege. As you recite the class of 2028 medical student oath, which you as a class have composed, remember the words that you pledged today before each other, the faculty, your family, and your friends. But today's ceremony is more than a ritual. You are pledging to follow the oath that you recite today during your career as a physician. Your role as a physician has already begun as you are now learning the science of medicine and how to practice the art of patient care. A physician must care as well as cure. And I think the people who are up here, who you will hear more from, will highlight how that is so incredibly true. As a physician, you are obligated to demonstrate excellence in the mastery of scientific knowledge, to be compassionate, and to embody integrity, professionalism, and lifelong learning. The medical school faculty of 1,200 clinicians, educators, and researchers will educate, advise, counsel, mentor, and support you during your journey through medical school. Today, we officially welcome you into the medical community. Students, when you're cloaked on stage here today, in just a moment, know that the physician who cloaks you represents all physicians in our community who welcome you and have confidence true confidence in your commitment to become a dedicated physician, stay true to your oath, and be a credit to the profession. Now, can I have you stop the teleprompter for a little bit? I have to say, I have to take this opportunity because it was a long time ago that I was sitting kind of where you are now, getting ready for medical school. And you become you want to reminisce. But I'm going to do one thing, which maybe I shouldn't. I'm going off script. This is dangerous. I will guarantee you something. I will guarantee you one thing. There's only one thing I can guarantee you. I'm going to do it today. I'm going to guarantee you one thing. In your career, you will see the impossible. And let me explain to you what I mean. When I was where you are now, in my time, if you were infected with a virus called HIV, you had 100% mortality. You were going to die. And today, your lifespan, if you have HIV, if you stay on appropriate therapy, should be very close to the rest of the general population. When I was sitting where you are today, we couldn't even hardly study RNA because it was so difficult to study. It would be destroyed. And now, we take RNA, we inject it into people, we vaccinate them, and save millions and millions and millions of lives. So that's what I mean by the impossible. Those were impossible for me when I started. So I have to finish by saying there is one impossible that I hope you see in your careers that I may or may not see by the time I'm done, and is for you to make disappear the inequities we see in outcomes in health for citizens of our population. You can do it. You all can figure it out. You're smart enough to be able to do it. It's going to be hard. It is what we are dedicated to this in this school, and I challenge you to do it, but I think you're going to see the impossible happen by the time you're standing where I am today. And with that, I'm going to say it's my pleasure to introduce today's keynote speaker, Dr. Priscilla Woodhams. She serves Western Michigan Homer Stryker MD School of Medicine as an assistant professor in the Department of Pediatric and Adolescent Medicine. Dr. Woodhams earned her bachelor's degree in education from Michigan State University and a doctor of medicine from the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. She completed her pediatrics residency at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, and so please join me in welcoming Dr. Priscilla Woodhams as our class of 2028 White Coat keynote speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dean Sawyer. Welcome and a big congratulations again. We are so happy that you are here. You did it, yay. When I was asked to speak today, I started asking physicians I know for tips to pass on to you all that they thought might be helpful, of course, in caring for your patients, and of course, in caring for yourselves as well. Remember, your ability to care for others is intrinsically linked to your ability to care for yourselves. So here are the tips. Remember the shape of an arc. Don't feel trapped by the failure of your imagination. Search, dig, and find a solution. Love, laugh. You can learn from every patient. Practice accompaniment. Everyone matters equally and infinitely. Bend the arc. The first line about an arc came from a speech from Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. Dr. King no doubt knew better than anyone in this room the challenges that come from helping people to have the opportunity to live their lives to its fullest. Challenges, be they at the massive level that Dr. King was facing or the much smaller level that all of you becoming physicians are facing, they sometimes are arcs. And sometimes when you are on this side of the arc, all you can see is uphill. And that hill can look huge and it can look daunting. You might even wonder if it's curving, but hang in there, okay? That is actually what most people, when I ask them what I should tell you all, they simply said, tell them to keep going. The incredible amount of work that you will put in medical school and residency is worth it. So keep that in mind. This brings me to Dr. Inez Binagwaho in Rwanda. This woman is the definition of amazing. She led a team to successfully get a healthcare system functioning in Rwanda after a genocidal war had just finished. There is hope in this world. She has a great quote she thinks about from another person who's revolutionized medicine, Dr. Paul Farmer. Paul Farmer told her to remember, don't feel trapped by your failure of imagination. Search, dig, and find a solution. I use her ability to imagine solutions in some of the most challenging situations we can imagine as inspirations to face the much easier arcs in my own life. Basically, if Dr. Benaguau can do this, we all can face our challenges here as well. So, keep these people in mind. Think of them and persevere. You will undoubtedly surpass multiple arcs if you face them with a good imagination, lots of perseverance, and the next phrase, lots of love in the process. Love. This was the theme of perhaps the best graduation speech I've ever heard, given by Dr. Mark Lurkey. And I am positive, even saying Dr. Lurkey's name, there are multiple people in this room whose faces lit up in a smile. Dr. Lurkey was the chair of the Department of Medicine here at WMed, and he's retired, but luckily you'll probably still see him around. He has won so many teaching awards that it doesn't seem humanly possible. What he said in his graduation speech resonated so much, and it was really a rather simple message: love. Love your patients and do your best to find joy and fascination in learning how to best care for them. Love the people you work with and make it a positive place to be a team. Find joy in challenges, and remember, challenges are okay. You will see challenges undoubtedly will make you stronger and wiser. Equally, keep up the loves in your life that have absolutely nothing to do with medicine, whatever it is you do for fun. For me, I went out dancing a lot with friends. I saw my family a lot. I listened to a ton of music. I worked with kids as a teacher, and I ran a lot. For some, it's karaoke, or climbing ice cliffs, or cooking. Whatever is your thing that refreshes you, keep it up. You will need that break, and your patients will pick up on your positive outlook, and they will benefit. Remember, your ability to care for others is intrinsically linked to your ability to care for yourselves. About the laughter. As one of my friends said about medical school, it was the best, quoting Charles Dickens, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times, it was the age of reason, it was the age of foolishness. And then she started cracking up laughing. Please laugh with your friends about the ridiculousness you will see in medicine. It helps a ton. My friends and I do not know how we would have gotten through medical school without it. For inspiration, I would like to refer you to Dr. Glaukomenflecken on YouTube, and if you do not know who that is, please Google him, and you will laugh. I guarantee it, whatever specialty you're going into. So the next tip, which involves love as well, comes from my dad, who is also a physician. He said to tell you, you can learn from every patient. So the key word there is can. It is up to you. This is no longer about a grade. This is about caring for people and being humble enough to take the opportunities to learn whenever you get the opportunity. My dad, William H. Woodhams, truly accompanied his patients. I know this because they would appear on our doorstep, or they would call our home phone back in the day when there were home phones, or I would be at the checkout counter and the person would see my last name and they would be like, "Do you know Dr. Bill? We love him." So my dad told his patients to call him Bill. It drove staff crazy because people would literally come into the office and be like, "Bill told me to come in whenever I needed to, and I'm just going to walk back to his station and I'll catch him when he has a minute," and he would help them. He also did not wear a white coat. He said he didn't because he didn't want to intimidate his patients. So back when he graduated from medical school in the 1960s, even more so than now, doctors, unfortunately, tried to put themselves above their patients. He knew that isn't the way to treat somebody. He wanted his patients to feel like he was approachable so that he could really get to know them and meet them where they are at to help them get better. He said he often knew what he was going to do to help a patient pretty quickly, sometimes within, he said, 10 seconds after reading what they were there for. But the rest of the time was convincing the patient that that was what they needed to do for themselves. Without that last part, remember, all of the knowledge in the world means absolutely nothing. That is what the term accompaniment means, to really be there with your patients, to love your patients. How did my dad do this, even though he looked different than a lot of people he cared for with his blue eyes and light skin and white hair? He respected people as individuals, and he loved them for it. He saw it as an honor that people that look different or have different interests came to see him. He is honored that many people of African descent came to see him, especially when he started practicing in the 1960s, when we had such horribly racist policies here in Kalamazoo and the United States as a whole. He is proud that people in the LGBTQA+ community felt comfortable coming to see him long before there was a movement to do so. He is proud people that didn't have much money or people that had intellectual challenges felt comfortable coming to see him as well. Likely, they are the reason he didn't wear a white coat. He is more proud of all of that, I know, because he talks about that a lot, way more than things like being on 2 different hospital boards at the same time, the state of Michigan's medical board, and president of the Kalamazoo Academy of Medicine. Somehow, with a ton of help from my mom, my wonderful mother, he also was and is an amazing dad. He was home most nights by 5:15 p.m. to eat dinner with my mom and us kids. There were 6 of us. And he had the majority of weekends and Wednesdays off to be with his family and friends. Do what you love. During medical school, he decided he really loved the idea of being a family doctor in a rural place, and he decided to do a family medicine residency here in Kalamazoo, where he grew up. Back in 1963, at University of Michigan, where he graduated from medical school from, things were more than a little bit different than they are now. The dean literally sat him down, told him he was throwing away his life, and tried to convince him to do neurosurgery. Thankfully, my dad horribly disappointed the dean and came here for residency and then to practice in Kalamazoo anyway. It is a big joke with his classmates at his med school reunions that he should have done neurosurgery. They know my dad's life and work ended up being incredibly fulfilling, both personally and professionally. Loving what you do and having the chutzpah to do it reminds me of the person whose phrase I tell myself over and over and over again, because frankly, a lot of people in medicine would like us to forget it. That person is Dr. Karen Marasco, who did decide to become a neurosurgeon. In fact, the first ever female chair of a department of neurosurgery. Her phrase is, everyone matters equally and infinitely. So a bit about Dr. Marasco. She's about 4'10" or so, and she has worn a brace since she was a child. A doctor had the nerve to call her unfortunate when she was born. Fortunately, Dr. Marasco is very aware that she is very fortunate and incredibly gifted, and she had lots of people who believed in her. She was the only female in her neurosurgery residency class, and I love that she wore a brightly colored suit and pierced her ears on the day of her graduation for her graduation picture, as if to say, I am a neurosurgeon, bright suit, pierced ears, and all. So back to her phrase, everyone matters equally and infinitely. So why do I say a lot of people in medicine would like us to physicians to kind of, sort of, not really, hold this mantra? I'll tell you a few stories. So for personal reasons, I moved back to Atlanta, Georgia after 12 years at University of Michigan. And shortly after I moved, a large pediatric nonprofit academic medical organization in the Atlanta area decided to close a pediatric clinic near where I was practicing because it wasn't making them enough money. This left 2,000 families on Medicaid with nowhere to go. I'm going to say that twice. A large nonprofit organization decided to close a clinic because it wasn't profitable, leaving about 2,000 families without a doctor. The closest doctor was about an hour away. The other area doctors, including my new partners, did not accept new patients on Medicaid for the same reason, because the reimbursements were so low. My friend suggested I go talk to the office manager, and I found her in literal tears. These were kids she knew, and she knew their care was complex, and it was breaking her heart. I ended up having to barter with the hospital system administrators that I was working for at the time. Basically what I said to them was, so I get paid whatever I make after I pay you all for my overhead. So if I see these patients, really this is only coming out of my pocket, and you all won't lose any money at all. And once they heard that, they were totally fine with it. They were like, see the kids. So It was my responsibility to do this, even though some CEO somewhere who was making over 10 times what I was making as a pediatrician decided to drop the ball for these kids. My new community, my responsibility. Everyone matters equally and infinitely. A great day for me was when an African-American grandmother of a patient told me she had lived there a long time, a really long time, and that she had seen a lot of things. She shook her head, and then she said, "I want you to know we are glad you are here." That was a really great moment. So the second example comes from a med school colleague of mine who was a neurosurgery resident under Dr. Marasco, and who's also a TV medical journalist. He's also super fun to go out karaokeing with. Please have fun and laugh. Sometimes what you need is to go out with a bunch of your friends and belt out Summer of '69 or Sweet Caroline or whatever it is all you might belt out these days with a bunch of your friends and laugh. It really helps. So he told me a story about when he was in Haiti working as a journalist after a devastating earthquake hit. He noticed people in a field hospital started abandoning it at dusk. He asked what was going on, and a person said their country had ordered them to leave because they couldn't guarantee safety at Haiti at night. So he looked at his cameraman, and he said, "Are you okay staying?" And he said, "Sure." And those two stayed up overnight, taking care of the patients in the field hospital. So he was telling me this. I was like, well, how did you know what to do? Because post-trauma care is not neurosurgery. And he said actually he had no idea what to do. And so he called an old attending of his, I'm so glad that guy picked up the phone, from the surgical ICU that he knew when he was here in Michigan. And those 3 people stayed up all night on the phone taking care of those patients in that field hospital. I asked what happened in the morning, and he said the team came back and he really did not know what to do, and so he just started regular sign out, like, this is a such and such year old gentleman who sustained a crush injury, overnight he received, et cetera, et cetera. He said by the 3rd patient, the guy stopped him and said, "I have never been so embarrassed to be from X country in my whole life." My colleague said, "No worries, you were ordered to go," and they went on rounding. Accompaniment, search, dig, and find a solution. Everyone matters equally and infinitely. For me in Haiti, I have lots of stories with good endings like that, but sometimes you do your best and it isn't enough. After the earthquake, most Haitian physicians died because most people who were indoors died. There was a lot that needed to be done that wasn't always something I knew how to do as a pediatrician. So to keep it general, I had a patient who was attacked. She had a gynecologic infection. She was bleeding. We gave her some antibiotics. However, we knew she was in a procedure called a DNC to save her life. We took her to an OB/GYN doctor who was thankfully still living. He said she definitely needed the procedure, but he needed an ultrasound to verify that she was no longer pregnant first. The GYN doctor had no access to an ultrasound even before the earthquake had happened, which is hard to believe. The closest ultrasound to this OB/GYN was 1.5 hours away in Port-au-Prince. There was a hurricane coming. We knew we could not leave to go with the patient, or we all likely would not live. That really obviously would not help anyone. So we talked it through with the mother and the patient, and we discussed the risks with the hurricane coming. She knew there was a hurricane coming as well. And we gave them money for the ultrasound and the ride and the care that she would need afterwards. And they left with this hurricane coming. The mother blessed and thanked us before they left. That was hard. We knew, and so did this mother, how low the chances were that our plan could work. To this day, I think about this girl, and I wish we could have done more. Although I have no idea what happened to this family, I love what the organization did afterwards. Shout out to Korer Timoun, that means support the children in Creole. They raised money in the US, bought the OB/GYN an ultrasound, and they found a US OB/GYN who was willing to teach the Haitian OB/GYN how to use the ultrasound virtually. I still think about the girl and her mom, and I wish we could have done more. But my guess is she would be very happy to know that her case likely helped hundreds of Haitian women and babies. Everyone matters equally and infinitely. Learn from every patient, accompany them, search, dig, and find a solution. So this brings me to the last phrase, bend the arc. This phrase comes from one of my favorite documentaries called Bending the Arc by doctors Jim Young Kim, Paul Farmer, Joya Mukherjee, and Ophelia Dahl. What this phrase means is to bend the arc for your patients and make justice happen in healthcare. If you'd like inspiration, this group I just listed started bending lots of arcs long ago while they were still in medical school. Know you all matter with your fantastic imaginations and your wonderful, wonderful perspectives. I cannot tell you the number of times medical students have made the world a better place. You all are amazing. So know you all can count if you decide to right now. So here's the tips again. Remember the shape of an arc. Don't feel trapped by the failure of your imagination. Search, dig, and find a solution. Love and laugh. You can learn from every patient. Accompany them. Everyone matters equally and infinitely. Bend the arc. You all are amazing. You all are going to make great physicians. We are so happy that you're here. Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Woodhams. I would now like to introduce the CFO of Greenleaf Trust, Mr. Steve McKitty. Mr. McKitty and his wife Amy serve as our White Coat fundraising co-chairs.
I just want to take a moment and tell you how blessed we are to have wonderful physicians and faculty at the Western Michigan University Homer Stryker MD School of Medicine. So let's give them another round of applause, please. So again, thank you, Dr. Shakely. It is such an honor for me to be here on this momentous day for our medical students. But also, I have the pleasure of recognizing the White Coat sponsors. Serving as a White Coat sponsor is an exciting and rewarding way to support a medical student as they begin their journey to become a physician. Alumni, parents, faculty, corporate partners, foundations, employees, friends, and community members are invited to sponsor one or more medical students for $1,000 each. With the sponsor donations, each medical student receives their first white coat, a stethoscope, tuning fork, reflex hammer, personal protective equipment, and apparel needed for coursework and clinical applications. The funds are also used for scholarships to ease the tremendous financial burden of medical education. To personalize the white coat ceremony, sponsors also write a note of encouragement that's been placed in each student's white coat pocket today. I speak from personal experience when I say that sponsoring an entering medical student often results in a special bond between the sponsor and the student. My wife Amy and I have seen firsthand how impactful it is to provide support and encouragement to these amazing students as they begin their studies. To share more about this impact from a student perspective, I would like to invite Tiara Jolly to the stage.
Thank you, Steve. When I started med school 3 years ago, I was 38. I had a 4-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 10-month-old. I was far from my home in Washington, D.C., and very much out of my element as a former social studies teacher. I didn't know anyone in the state of Michigan, and I certainly didn't feel like I fit in with the young, shiny, happy-faced bio majors who surrounded me in the lecture hall. I felt alone, and I especially felt alone the day I sat in those chairs where you are, one day after failing my very first medical school exam, waiting to get a white coat that I was terrified I didn't deserve. I barely noticed that paper I pulled out of my brand new pocket, listing the names of my white coat sponsors. I didn't really understand what a white coat sponsor was. Fortunately for me, mine reached out to me very quickly. I learned that my sponsors, Steve and Amy McKitty, weren't just generous people whose donation purchased my stethoscopes, tuning forks, and white coat. They were also parents who'd survived a NICU stay and battled local special education administrators to get their kids included at school. The McKittys were the first people in the whole state of Michigan to invite my whole family to dinner. And since then, they've become the people who pray for me before huge exams, who invite me and their other student sponsors to the school, and who send my kids home with books. My white coat sponsors gave me more than a very sweaty jacket that is hard to keep clean. They were my first connection to the Kalamazoo community that now I'm proud to call home. So when you learn who your white coat sponsors are, please do not crumple up their names or just dutifully write a thank you note and never speak to them again. Definitely write a thank you note. But then reach out to them again and again. Because if your white coat is the symbol that you belong here in medicine, let your white coat sponsor be your bridge to belonging here in Kalamazoo. Get to know them and their network. Let them support your transition to making a home here for the next 4 years. Just like you're more than a medical student, let them be more than the folks who bought you a white coat. I promise that you won't regret it. Thank you.
Thank you, Tiara. Following the ceremony, today in the reception room here at Chenery Auditorium, the students and sponsors in attendance will have the opportunity to meet and to begin to forge that special relationship. At this time, we ask that families remain in the lobby. Your students will join you shortly. Please join me in thanking all our white coat sponsors for their support and commitment to our medical students.
Thank you, Mr. McKitty and Tiara. We will now begin the cloaking ceremony, what we've all been waiting for. The two faculty members who will be cloaking our students are our dean, Dr. Robert Sawyer, and our white coat speaker, Dr. Priscilla Woodhams. A professional photographer, or two actually, will be taking photos, which will be available for students to share. We do ask that you stay seated and do not approach the stage to take personal photos, as that could disrupt the presentation of the white coats. The students will be introduced in pairs as they enter the stage, and you are welcome to applaud after both students are on stage. Thank you for your cooperation in this request. So coders, you can, sorry, you may. Thank you. Okay, and we will start with John Paul Arslanian and Lillian Asamoah Banier. Mansour Dean Asil and Michael Ashkenazi. Hannah Adasherrill and Allison Beauchamp. Naina Bhatnagar, and Jamie Biranvand. Cameron Bissell and Alexandra Bryant. Ethan Coleman and Zachary Cowsert. Garrett Davis and Kavindia Dodampala. Bailey Doucette and Aaron Dowd. Kelly Fan and Lucas Fedderson. Norbert Fernandez and Grace Filipiak. Nikhil Mount Gundakota and Jackson J. Goodrow. Jonathan Grieve and Charles Gu. Jackson Hannah and Allison Harris. Matthew David Hoppy and Ansley Howard. Katie Ju and Humza Sunta Kasanga. Nasheen Khan and Shane Kim. Javon King and Lindsay Klug. Nicholas Koshi, Anjana Krishna. Peter T. Lee and Alex Lindsay. Alexis Mariah Long and Alyssa Lopez. Melissa Liu and Ryan Ludke. Urva Mangan and Alyssa Maniaci. Max McDonnell and Colleen McKay. Emma Meyer and Adam Miller. Jory Nagel and Adi Nala. Nate Neely and Nishi Patel. Madeline Fan and Isaac Pingree. Ethan Poupard and Nicholas Pryor. Sophie Ross and Lamis Saab. Carmen Sanchez and Thomas Henry Shade. Omar Sheikh and Aisha Sheikh. Ridwan Shakil and Ethan Simmering. Mackenzie Simon and Sydney Sleepian. Fabiola Sotomayor and Sarim Saeed. Callista Elizabeth Tapas and Alan Tartarian. Joseph Henry Tameki and Scott Valina. Sarah Valencia and Brady Vibert. Aya Wadji, excuse me, let me say that again. Aya Wajdi and Atticus Walters. Elena Teresa Welker and Megan Westfall. Jack Wisniewski and Aaron Wood. Grace Wunderlich and Jisoo Yang. Anna Yu and Sarah Zalobis. Daniel Zhao. Thank you so much to our coders, and congratulations to the class of 2028. To finish up, I would like to welcome Dr. Cheryl Dixon, our Chief Diversity Officer, Associate Dean for Health Equity, and Professor in the Department of Pediatric and Adolescent Medicine.
Thank you, Dr. Shakely. This is a wonderful ceremony. In addition to the white coat, another symbol of the medical profession is the Hippocratic Oath. It is the most widely known of Greek medical texts. A medical oath declares the ethos of medicine. An oath includes solemn promises that reflect the covenant that exists between physicians and patients. At WMed, we have had a tradition of each class writing a collective medical student oath. During their first weeks on campus, Drs. Michael Redinger, Dr. Tyler Gibb, and I worked with the students to compose the class of 2028 medical student oath that will be recited today. The composition of the class oath was a student learning project bringing together each of the class as a whole. I would like to acknowledge the work of the student representatives from each learning community for their leadership and teamwork in putting together the oath for their class. They are Nana Butnager, Aaron Dowd, Jonathan Grieve, Ansley Howard, Javon King, Omar Sheikh, Alina Welker. The entire class was involved in finalizing and approving the oath content. Creation of their own oath enabled the students to reflect on the principles that they feel are important to embrace as medical professionals. A copy of the oath is included in today's program. And at this time, I ask the class of 2028 students to stand in order to recite the oath, and I welcome to the podium Daniel Zhao to lead them.
Okay, members of the class of 2028, please begin. As a member of the Western Michigan University Homer Stryker MD School of Medicine class of 2028, and in recognition of the trust and responsibility bestowed upon me, I solemnly vow to uphold the following responsibilities. To my patients, I promise to treat each patient with compassion, respect, and dignity, and to recognize their unique needs and experiences. I will strive to provide the highest quality of care, advocating for their well-being and honoring their autonomy. I will listen actively, communicate openly, and approach each interaction with empathy, acknowledging the trust they place in me. To my community, I pledge to serve with dedication, working toward equitable access to all. I will empower those within my community to be proactive about their health by promoting robust health education, helping dispel misinformation, and providing evidence-based care. I will collaborate with those in the continuum of care to properly understand and advocate for the specific needs of my community. To humanity, I affirm my commitment to the broader healthcare landscape, embracing cultural diversity and advocating for the rights of the vulnerable. I will work diligently to alleviate suffering, promote health equity, and contribute to the advancement of medical knowledge. I will advocate for policies that improve healthcare systems and the lives of those I serve, both locally and globally. To myself, I commit to nurturing my own physical, mental, and emotional well-being, recognizing that my ability to care for others depends on my own health. I will recognize and respect the boundaries of my expertise as a physician and seek additional resources and assistance from my patients when my knowledge and experiences are no longer sufficient. I will pursue lifelong learning and self-improvement, remain curious, and uphold the highest standards of ethics and integrity in my practice. I will honor the guidance and contributions of those who paved this path before me by mentoring and nurturing those who follow me. Taking this oath freely and with devotion, I vow to embody these principles in my practice, striving to honor the trust bestowed upon me and the nobility of the medical profession.
It is my honor to present to you the Western Michigan University Homer Stryker MD School of Medicine class of 2028. You guys may be seated. Before our closing remarks with instructions, I do want to just take a quick selfie with all of you. Smile. All right. Yeah. So we would like to thank all of you for joining us today for this celebration, and we'd like to especially thank the Arnold P. Gold Foundation for the humanism in medicine pins that are affixed to each of our students' white coats. This does conclude our ceremony today. At this point in time, the members of the class of 2028 will be taking a photo here on stage, and then they will be heading to the reception room, which is off the lobby, with their sponsors. And so students, if you've received notice that your sponsor is here, please go to the reception room to meet your sponsor. We ask that all white coat sponsors please check in at the reception table just outside the reception room. When you meet with your student today, please be sure to take a photo. We have professional photographers here to do that. All of our other guests are invited to go immediately to the Upjohn campus for a reception. There will be a lot of photo opportunities there. Your students can take you on a tour of the building. It will be a lot of fun. There's not a lot of space here for everybody, so the sponsor reception is just for the sponsors and students. That will be very quick. We do ask everybody else to go to the Upjohn campus. So thank you again for joining us for the WMed Class of 2028 White Coat Ceremony.